So greetings, everyone, and thank you so much for being here on the last day. Welcome to the age of SoLoMo recruitment. You guys, you're in for a real treat today because we got great panelists. I'm the moderator. My name is Casey Sixt, and I'm from CKR Interactive. And CKR is a recruitment marketing agency, and we actually specialize in SoLoMo. So funny that we're doing this panel, right? What's really great today is, you know how they say they save the last for the best? Well, I've gotten the opportunity to work with these three ladies, and they're fun, they're smart, and they have a lot of great information to share. So we're really happy that you're here today. What I'm going to do is kind of turn it over to my panelists so they'll be able to each introduce themselves, tell you a little about the role they play in their company, and a little bit about what they do. So Price, you want to start things off?
Well, hello everyone, welcome. Congrats on making it to day 3 of LinkedIn Talent Connect. This is actually my first time speaking at the conference, so thanks for coming and sitting and listening with us about our SoLoMo experiences. Wanted to give a quick shout out to my VMware people. I see you out in the crowd, so thanks for coming. But like Casey mentioned, my name is Price Peacock. I am the social community manager of employment brand at VMware. I've been with the company for about 3 years, and my role is really exciting because I have the opportunity to connect with our coworkers all around the world to share their unique stories about life at VMware. And we leverage social, local, and mobile to share these stories both internally with current employees and externally with top talent, which we see as our future employees. And a little background about VMware. VMware was founded in 1998. We're the leader in virtualization and cloud infrastructure. And it's really exciting to see how our employee population works together to solve our customers' toughest technology constraints with the software-defined data center, hybrid cloud, and end-user computing solutions through mobile. So, Diana?
I don't know how to follow that. Thank you. Hi, my name is Diana Meisenhelter, and I am with FedEx Office. And we are one of the 9 operating companies of FedEx. If everybody, I think, in the room knows our brand of FedEx. FedEx Office is one of several of our operating companies, like Express, as well as ground, freight, et cetera, and we all run independently. So we're talking about specifically today FedEx Office. We are the retail face of FedEx, so any of the stores that you see. We have about 1,800 stores here in the US and Canada, and are somewhat of a conservative company. And I'm kind of like the, I don't know, the redheaded stepchild up here.
Literally.
In that we are more aspirational, and to tell our story today is where we've come. I've only been with the company about 2.5 years, going on 3 years, and what we've done in that short period of time. I was hired to come in and help move the organization to a different level, and there's some really good stories that we're going to talk about today, and where we hope to go in the future. But I'm really excited to see all the people here. We didn't think we'd have that many people show up the last day, and I see a lot of faces that I know, so welcome. Thank you for being here.
Great.
Right, Tracy?
Thank you. So I'm Tracy, and I am actually excited and a little overwhelmed with all the people here, but thank you for being here. I work for Genentech. My title, as you see, is a program manager, but that doesn't say a ton. So what do? I collaborate with a lot of different folks across the business. I get to work on any number of exciting, interesting projects, both on a local and a global level. You know, at Genentech, there are a lot of bright folks, a lot of creative folks, a lot of divas as well, a lot of folks with strong opinions. So it's never a dull moment. And I feel like actually I have one of the best jobs on the planet. So in regards to social, I actually manage a cross-functional team of about 15 to 18 people that focus on social recruiting. It's certainly always a work in progress, and so I think I'm going to share some of those stories today, but it's a very exciting work in progress. And then some other things that I do around Genentech, I focus, again, on project teams a lot. So I'm on a team that focuses on future of work. So a lot of discussion around millennials, who's going to do the work, what is the work of the future going to be, where are we going to be doing that work. I'm also on a team focused on the candidate experience, so I know a lot of folks are having that discussion as well today. And then another team that's looking to formalize a very rich and interactive employee ambassador program. So I wanted to share those examples because I feel like they're all very natural fits for social, and you'll probably hear me talk about those things later on. So thank you very much.
So we want to be very inclusive. How many of you have heard the term SoLoMo? Just a show of hands. So what we found when we were kind of talking about doing this subject is that everyone was defining it a little different. So we kind of went back in history and said, who coined this phrase? So it actually was a guy named John Doerr. He's a partner at Kleiner Perkins. And what he did, he was in a room very much like this. He's a VC. And he was talking to a bunch of investors. And he was trying to explain what social, local, and mobile was doing as emerging trends and how they were disrupting the whole industry, including recruitment. So that's a little historical perspective. But what I find really interesting is that every company out there kind of has a little twist on it. So today you're going to get to hear these three powerhouse brands and how they kind of view it in their company. So our first question up is, how are these three emerging trends affecting your company's recruiting strategy? And each one of them will kind of talk about it. And we're going to welcome questions at the end. So we'll have 3 questions, but we'll allow you guys to kind of dig into their stories. Okay, Price?
Okay. Well, for us at VMware, I guess I'll dive into social first. When we first started exploring social as a tool to engage with candidates as well as our employees, we kind of realized for us, social is a tool or a platform for us to engage and open two-way conversations with current employees and future employees. And something that we do a lot at VMware, and I've heard some other companies and employers talking about it as well, is that they collaborate and leverage and amplify employee stories to give that inside look into their culture. So that's what we do a lot with at VMware. And I guess another one of our strategies with social is just being active on a variety of platforms. Over the past couple of years, we've had a presence on channels like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and more recently, several of our staffing teams have realized that you can really no longer assume that candidates are just active in one social space. So they've really started to dive in and explore what are our candidates or top talents' preferred methods of communication. So over the next couple of months, several of these staffing teams are diving into platforms such as WeChat, Google Hangouts, Facebook Messenger, to really see, is that the initial spot that they can engage in a meaningful conversation with people. Then in regards to local, you know, VMware has over 50 offices globally. And we realize not all of our talent is engaging in the same space or is interested in the same exact content. So we really strive to create targeted local content and develop that for specific teams we're hiring for. And after we built out our social strategy, we define which channels are relevant for the audience and leverage both free and paid filters to further engage with that audience. And then lastly, just in regards to mobile, just realizing we want to create a user-friendly experience for candidates. So creating that full mobile apply complete is something we're striving for, as we feel like it's the next way to really connect candidates with our culture at VMware.
So Diana is really with a more conservative company, and she's really playing catch up, and she'll tell you a little bit about what they're doing.
All right, let's start with social. So we realize we're not where we need to be. So again, a lot of what we're talking about is aspirational. We are really more on the social space, focused on the business. So it is who is FedEx and who are the different operating companies and how can you work with those different businesses. And if you look for us, it's more about the business than talent acquisition. And so we have created a social media committee where we work together with communications and legal and customer service and talent acquisition and sales to talk about long-term strategy, short-term strategy, about how we can become more active in the social space and getting those approvals. And I've sat in a couple of breakouts where there have been other kind of conservative companies talking about having to get approval. In the world of transparency, there's no such thing as us just posting something immediately. It has to go through channels of approval. And so doing that, and we want to do it right. So we don't want to mess up, so we have conversations. We have to be part of the conversation moving forward and making sure that we have the right people in the room and how we do that, where we need to be, and what that messaging is really important to us. So we're moving in that right direction. We do realize the importance of mobile as we move towards that part of the world where everybody has a mobile device. You're sitting in front of the TV or the coffee shop and you're looking to find out about a company, or you're looking on your mobile device where people gather, and how can we make it easier for you to find out about us? Not just jobs, but why would you want to work at FedEx office and so forth. We are in the process of implementing a new FedEx Global Enterprise-wide ATS system, which would be all mobile friendly across the board, including our we have an applicant tracking, an assessment, an online assessment for our hourly non-exempt retail positions, as well as our management retail positions, to make sure that there's a candidate experience that's accessible on any mobile device, and that's coming. I'm sure many of you have been involved in one of those big projects, so there's a lot going on. If you want to talk offline, I can give you lots of updates on that project. But at this point, we're looking at going live in March, so we're right around the corner. And then we do a lot of pilots. And so I was in a presentation yesterday, and they were talking about another conservative company, but we do. We want to make sure we do it, and we do it right. We get the right people involved, and the right return on investment, and we measure everything. Everything we do has some kind of measurement and ROI so that we can show that it worked or it didn't work, or what we need to do to fine tune it. So when we talk about local, we have 1,800 stores around the United States and Canada, and majority of our jobs, we have 200 jobs open right now. Excuse me, 2,000 jobs open right now. If you know anybody looking for a job, please call me. Oh, shameless plug, I do have a recruiter position open in Dallas.
She promised she would do this.
Recruiter job in Dallas, and a social media analyst. If you want to come on the team and make a difference, come see me afterwards. I'm a recruiter, that's what I do. I got the platform, I'm going to use it. So we have pilots, we're looking at local ways to make a difference in that space around local, social, mobile. That's why this is really exciting, because we're dabbling in it in every way we possibly can, but doing it in the right way, very carefully, and making sure we do that. I'm going to show you a visual because I think that also tells you where we're at.
She also promised this.
This is what we use. For those of you that don't know what this is a BlackBerry. And I bet there's people in the room that don't know what that is. So we have our own iPhone technology if you want to use it, but our company device is a BlackBerry, and that's very hard to use, and we're talking about the technology today, right? So we are moving in a direction, but slowly. And I just thought I'd show this, and it is what it is, and we have to help the organization move to the level where we have to have the right technology, the right messaging and engagement and communication in today's changing world. So that's where we're at today.
And for Tracy, she's all about communicating with the new generation, and it's called Generation C. And does anyone know what Generation C is? Generation Connected. So
Yes.
Trace?
So I'm a little intimidated now. I don't have a prop or anything, but that's cool. So I'm going to talk about Gen Z in a second, but I'm going to get a little unscripted. Yesterday, did you all have a chance to listen to Father Boyle, I believe his name was?
Yeah.
So I was totally inspired by that, and I'm not going down a religious path at all. You know what I think the connection with what he said to what I'm about to talk about is community. So I was so struck, you know, by his passion and just his drive and the fact that people are people, so it doesn't matter whether we're on the margin or whether we're fortunate enough to be sitting in this room together at a nice conference. We're people, we have kin groups, you know, and we do sort of gravitate toward community. And so I'm not by any means, trust me, trying to compare what we do up here to what he does with the homies, but it comes back to community. And so I thought that was sort of an interesting connection, and I decided to just scrap everything I was gonna say and just go with what I was inspired by. So, with that said, yeah, with everybody being connected all the time, I think it's a bunch of things. I think it's overwhelming, I think it's exhilarating, it's exciting, and it's frightening. And so there's, I guess, one hand where you can say it's happening, so you accept it, and then there's this other, on the other hand, it's like embracing it, I think, and sort of really immersing yourself in that experience. And so we do that as individuals, and trying to get Genentech to do that as a company has been quite a journey. So, you know, like my fellow panelists, you know, we recognize that people are connected all the time and on different platforms, and so we certainly try to create content that is relevant for those platforms, whether it be just a cool picture, because people respond very strongly to visuals, as well as video, or just other types of content, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But you know, it's an exciting time for sure. Now, with that said, you know, Genentech is an FDA-regulated environment, so sometimes this whole notion of connection and all of these conversations happening can be a little bit daunting. For us, Genentech Jobs is our handle. We never planned to talk about product or, you know, outcomes of trials or things like that, anything patient related. That's really reserved for corporate. But you can imagine as a recruiter, this is really rich content that you might want to use, particularly if there's a successful trial, because this might help you get that person, you know, to come and be part of our story and to help make a difference. But we can't do that all the time. So on that team I talked about earlier, I've got folks from corporate relations so that we can sort of have that liaison between what we can safely say and what regulatory says we can say. There are things like fair balance and, you know, label and risk implications about products. So that gets way out of our area of expertise, but it's certainly something that we're mindful of because it is, again, really relevant, rich content that's worth sharing, and we want to start to capture those folks and have them be part of our communities. So anyway, it's something that we wanted to touch on because neither of these folks are in an FDA-regulated environment. Oops, there goes my hoop. Man. Sorry, it's my signature, so it must go back on.
That's a tweetable moment.
It is, yeah. Okay, thanks. So I do want to talk about communities of practice a little bit more. I got a little out of order, sorry, Casey. But you know, what we discovered, and it was on LinkedIn actually, is we have a lot of different groups that we hire for. And we noticed that we had very low followers for engineers, for IT professionals, and for marketers. And these are three frequently hired areas for us. So we thought, okay, what can we do to address that? So this kind of covers, I think, social, local, and mobile in one example. So what we decided to do was create communities of practice. And it's kind of a sort of three-prong approach, if you will. The first being very organic. So the idea was to start a group on LinkedIn, and hopefully this is something that maybe will be helpful for you guys. Start a group on LinkedIn, Genentech employees in the IT space, for instance. Okay, so our IT person on the social recruiting team starts this group, invites other people from the IT organization to join. And then what happens is we start to populate content that those folks in the group can start to share with their networks. So we're kind of killing a few birds with one stone because inadvertently these people are becoming ambassadors for us to talk about that function and really what differentiates IT at Genentech from other companies. And then we're also, at the same time, identifying who our influencers are within our organization. So if we see, hey, so-and-so is out on social, very active, has a lot of followers, then we're gonna reach out to that person to say, hey, can you help us share this content? So, you know, that is sort of one way we're going about it. When you think about it, for those of you that know Genentech, And this area of the country that we're in, for IT folks, we're not necessarily top of mind, right? Because we have a lot of competitors in the technology space. And so, it really is a great time for us to start to share, as I said, some insights about that culture in IT in a way that the employees can get involved. So, so that's one of the things around communities of practice. I think Casey's moved on, so I'll stop talking.
I think one of the things that all three had discussed pre-conference was that on their to-do list was mobile apply. And it seems to be on everybody's to-do list. Just by a show of hands, how many of you guys have mobile apply right now? That's great. So I think, Price, you're going to talk a little bit about?
Yeah, I guess I'll give a little inside look into where VMware, specifically VMware Careers, is currently with our mobile apply process, I guess project, I guess you would say. So raise of hand, how many people knew that 3 out of 5 people in the past year leveraged mobile to search for a job opportunity? Did you know that?
Oh,
okay,
smart
awesome. Another interesting finding my team kind of stumbled upon recently was the fact that 64% of people engage with the company's social channels hours before an interview. So these stats, coupled with the fact that in the past 3 months, 48,000 people have engaged with VMware job opportunities via a mobile device on our job site, really kind of hit home with us and realize that we aren't where we want to be with our mobile apply process currently. So I guess kind of backtracking, in 2012, corporate at VMware Corporate, and the VMware Careers website moved to responsive design. So we really saw that as our first step to creating a user-friendly experience for our candidates. And I guess a roadblock or an opportunity for growth that we've now discovered, and I know it's probably been on people's radars, but similar to Diana, they're just, it's not always as easy as just saying, oh, I wish we could have a mobile apply complete. So basically what I'm trying to say is we've kind of been researching and exploring other vendors to really create that full mobile apply experience for our candidates. So from initial engagement with our community, our company, our job opportunities, all the way to clicking apply via mobile device to uploading your resume and getting it into the ATS. That was kind of our next step, and we've actually identified a vendor that will help bring to life that full user mobile-friendly experience for our candidates. So yeah.
So as you can see, that's on everyone's to-do list. And one of the other things we wanted to explore was how is this trend, really affecting how you're approaching each of your various platforms? So I think up is Diana talking about FedEx.
So our social strategy for talent acquisition really has been LinkedIn. We're not active on Facebook. I'm personally active on Facebook for those of you that know me. But and I'm very active on LinkedIn. I just received that poster. If you haven't gotten that downstairs, pretty awesome. I've been a member since 2004 and first 400,000 LinkedIn member. I thought that was kind of cool. But on a professional side, we've done a lot on LinkedIn. When I joined the company, we had about 200 followers, and we're up to 15,000. For those of you who have active companies in the space, that probably doesn't seem like a lot, but if you think about how much that takes to get that many people following you, that's pretty significant. In the time, we also rolled out a new employment brand, Colorful Careers, which has been really helpful to sell the message of FedEx Office and who we are and why you want to come work with us. And then, of course, we're really excited about some of the messaging that we have on LinkedIn, and we've been really successful with LinkedIn around our sales jobs and our corporate jobs. Not so much maybe at the hourly, non-exempt retail level, but at the professional level, it's been very successful for us. And making sure that we capture the right people, and we continue to grow in the space and try different products. Very excited about the mobile app for jobs that we have for our job postings that we use, job slots, and we're seeing success there. We're tying that to results. We look at the numbers all the time, how many hires and how many of those are influenced by mobile, and what can we do differently to make it easier for people to find us and hear more about us as an organization. So the LinkedIn space is really important to us, and we're continuing to learn. I come to these conferences like the rest of you to find out what I don't know, because I don't know everything, and learn from everyone on what we need to do next and how can we continue to be better around that. So our next kind of entree into LinkedIn is to become more active around content. That is the scary space for me, in that we know we have to be active, we have to have some conversation with our audience, and the good, the bad, whatever it may be, to bring people here to talk to us about the organization. And teaching an organization, educating an organization that that is the way of the world today, and we have to be transparent, is part of our story. And it's one step at a time, one step at a time. Recently posted, we have a new headquarters being built in Dallas and Plano, where we're moving basically ground up. We got a huge amount of interest on that specific topic, because everybody likes to hear about new cool things, right? So we just posted something interesting from the Dallas Morning News or something, and the impact and how many people actually followed that was really a good teaching tool for the rest of the organization about people want to hear the good stuff. They want to hear what you're doing that's different. They want to know what you're doing that would maybe impact them, especially around jobs. So we continue to look at content through that social media committee on a weekly basis, and start thinking about what we can start messaging, even if we have to get it approved in advance, that would make it interesting to tell the story about coming to work for us. Okay?
So for VMware, they're going to talk a lot about all of their platforms and what they're doing.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take you all on a little journey with a recent campaign we did for VMware's involvement with the 2014 Grace Hopper Conference. So for those of you who don't know, in January of 2014, VMware launched its VM Women Initiative. So recently, I guess VMware in the spring announced that they were going to really, I guess, increase its engagement with the Grace Hopper Conference. We had attended previously in years past, but through connecting with our university relations team and our current employees, we really saw the value in engaging with the community at the Grace Hopper Conference. So over the summer, I synced up with the VM Women Initiative program manager to really identify what would be the best way to highlight VMware's new VM Women Initiative to, I guess, increase female talent in the workforce, but also to retain and develop our top female talent at VMware. So really, in August of 2014, Betsy Sutter, our Chief People Officer of VMware, kicked off this campaign for us with a blog post on the VMware corporate blog, and we leveraged her story and the message she shared with the community, as I mentioned, to kind of kick off this series. So for those of you who don't know, the Grace Hopper Conference was actually 2 weeks ago in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's a celebration of women in computing. There were actually over 8,000 attendees from all over the world. It was my first time attending the conference, and it was really inspiring to be a part of that movement and witness so many passionate people around technology, but also female talent. But I guess to backtrack a bit, so in September, all throughout September, we highlighted the VMware female engineers that were presenting at the conference. So each week in September, we shared each of those female engineers' stories. And Nadine, as you see on the screen, she's one of our staff user researchers. And at the conference, she actually presented a poster on the mid-career donut hole for female talent in the workspace. So I guess going back to the SoLoMo, prior to the conference, we used our presence on channels like LinkedIn, where we have over 276,000 followers. It's our, I guess, our social channel for VMware careers with the most followers at this point in time. So we use LinkedIn and their paid and free tools. I don't know if, do you all like to use, have you ever used the filters on company updates on your LinkedIn company page? Has anyone ever used the filters? A couple of hands.
She just asked a question, what are the filters, right?
So if you have a LinkedIn company page, you can actually, they're free updates on the company page, and similar to like Facebook, you can filter who of your current followers, so with your LinkedIn company page, you can have employee followers, so you can see the number of employee followers, and you can also see the number of non-employee followers. So with the free updates, you can filter by function, location, company size of their current employer, things like that, skill sets. So I love those filters. But more recently, my team purchased the sponsored updates, so it lets you further dive into, I guess, some filters like gender or the university that they attended. So with this specific campaign, we really dived into those filters just to see if we can connect and engage with the specific audience that we were trying to share our stories with. And we shared Nadine's story on Facebook and Twitter. So I guess that kind of shows the variety of channels. But then in real time during the conference, we realized that Twitter and the actual Grace Hopper app, which I realized looks very similar to the LinkedIn Talent Connect app, we used Twitter, Instagram, and the conference app to share real-time updates about when our employees were presenting, how you could engage with them at our booth and whatnot. So it was a full journey of, the initial spark conversation all the way to filtering it to connect with that target audience we were trying to engage with, to, I guess, local, realizing that at certain points in the campaign's journey, it was more relevant to be only on a select few channels versus at the beginning we kind of wanted to have a splash. So just being cognizant of that, and that it's okay to not use all the channels for everything you're blasting out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So this was one specific one
Yeah.
where you actually got some of the stats for.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, this is Nadine. She is a staff user researcher at VMware. And on LinkedIn, I really love the engagement we receive with our post on LinkedIn. But this, back to your question about the filters, just with our post on our LinkedIn company page, we had over 111,000 impressions, 391 clicks, and 99 interactions. So that was a great way just to stir the buzz about what's next for VMware with our VM Women initiative and our excitement about the upcoming, or now past, Grace Hopper conference.
And then we're going to turn it over to Genentech, who has a lot of interesting work they're doing in similar areas. So
Great.
Tracy.
I don't know how much time I've got here, but I'm going to try to hit each of these. So one of the things I forgot to mention that I've been really focused on is helping Genentech reinvent, kind of like Madonna, reinvent our recruitment brand. So shameless plug here, you're getting a little preview, a job with a future that helps make history. I love this headline. It's very bold. I don't know if you guys were familiar with how we showed up before, but like most biotechnology or pharma companies, typically you'd see pictures of patients and or, some of the employees. And while we've continued to be, really grounded in science, patients, people, we wanted to sort of depart and really figure out how to differentiate ourselves from our competitors, maybe find a more neutral space and get more conceptual so we don't really have a patient right in your face, but we're inviting candidates to start to envision how they might make a difference at a company like ours. So with that in mind, it's certainly a great opportunity to then, deliver content that goes with that. So we can position, so I would say for everybody, position your companies to candidates so that they can really visualize what contribution they can make. It's really great to talk about what we offer, all of us as companies, to potential new hires, but it's kind of tacky to just talk about ourselves the whole time, right? So it's really good to have a deliberate focus on the candidates. So that's one of the things that we're doing. And I talked a little bit earlier about communities of practice, and so as part of a larger initiative, it pretty much is, an employer value proposition, but at Genentech we like to call them attraction statements. What we did was we created attraction statements for each of our functions because, it's not a one-size-fits-all, and we wanted to speak to the actual experience within that function, and again, what makes it different at our company than at other companies. And so we've got a lot of talking points and a lot of great content, and then we went a step further and we created infographics. So you see up on the screen with just really interesting data points. Some are maybe more cultural insights, for instance. Some may be, depending on the group, some scientific data points. What we envision down the line is, making these clickable. So as we become more digitized, being able to click in and really see and understand the story behind that data point. But I highly suggest them. They're really cool if you're presenting and you just want to go out and have one slide and then just really go where the energy is. With that, we also created customized hashtags. So that's something that's still very new for us. They've been met with a lot of enthusiasm. The idea was that they'd be hashtags that we could put into a sentence so that they're very, Twitter friendly, and we can use them at conferences and events and just start to get people to go to the different channels. As Price said, not everyone is on just one channel, and you don't want to always put the same content out there the same way on every platform. So as an example, you might have some senior leaders who are very active on LinkedIn, not so much on Twitter, but by incorporating the hashtag in whatever content you've created for LinkedIn, in that content, then they can go over and sort of check out that conversation and decide to join it, or just sort of, be stalkery and see what's being talked about. So these are just some examples that we really love. What we're also doing is more long-form posts. So you probably have noticed that LinkedIn in particular has become much more of a publishing platform. I think it's pretty obvious to everyone that it's about storytelling, it's about campaigns. It's an opportunity, I think, for everyone to start to advertise opportunities, job opportunities a lot differently. We historically, we're pretty straightforward with the positions that were available. Now we're thinking more along the lines of campaigns, do a short series, you talk about the culture, maybe share a video, a day in the life of, whatever it is you have, and then eventually the job comes to the front. With the long form posts, this is our VP of HR, Nancy Vitale. It's kind of like a blog, but it doesn't have the same demands or expectations that a blog might have. So people typically would expect if you're going to blog, you're going to do it regularly. And for most folks at this level, probably for all of your companies, they're not going to commit to that. They simply don't have the time to do it. But a long form post enables them to talk about whatever topic they want and maybe do it a couple times a year. And so this one was really fantastic because it got a lot of engagement. We had people from competitor companies commenting. They felt that whatever she shared was very refreshing and it was about time. And so it starts to position not only your company, but also that individual's brand, right? So she's now being thought of as a thought leader in the space. And we were just really pleased with the amount of engagement that this got. So I highly encourage the long form posts.
And this was like the first one Genentech did.
That's
and
true.
Now they are moving forward and actually reverse engineering it and doing it with their hiring managers. So they just launched one yesterday, which
correct.
was about moving to the San Francisco Bay Area from a scientist's point of view. And he's engaging not only with his network on LinkedIn, but then they're able to share it out on Genentech jobs and
That's right.
across their social platforms.
And at conferences. And for anyone that's in the Bay Area, we all know, or wherever you are, but particularly the Bay Area and the East Coast, it's really expensive. And so trying to relocate people here can be a challenge. And so this is a way that you can start to highlight that it's worth the expense because of all sort of the unique things that go on in this part of the country. So thank you for reminding me of that. So again, you'll see, I think, a little more clearly an example of the infographic. Below that, you'll see some analytics from ASCO. So ASCO is a very large conference that Genentech attends on an annual basis. And with the tweeting, both leveraging their hashtag as well as ours. At that time, I think we launched our hashtags for GRED, which is Genentech Research Early Development, excuse me, and then our PD, which is Product Development. We were an influencer, so that was kind of cool. So I definitely recommend that. And then finally, our visual job description. So I'm not sure how many people are thinking about this, but none of us want to read a long old job description with a lot of bullets and potentially some typos. So this is a really nice visual way to just represent what a job opportunity looks like. I was going to say one more thing.
Okay, that's
Sorry.
fine.
It's colorful. No, but also kind of a nugget, right? Eye candy, if you will. So you could consider that being sort of the hook to get someone in, and then you could link it to the more traditional job description. Thank you.
So just to recap this kind of section of it, we really think this is about the you universe. It's really about targeting and personalization and really talking to that target group on the SoLoMo communication channels. Which moves us to our next question, which is, I want them to share and kind of talk about some of the things that are working for them, some of the things that are not working for them, and what's happening in the SoLoMo space. And Glassdoor came up a lot when we were in our pre-discussions, so it's really about the Yelpification of employers, and I think Diana and Tracy are going to hit on that.
Yeah, I'll just briefly mention this. This Glassdoor, of course, is becoming more and more prevalent. I think it was just out there and people went to it occasionally if they wanted to find out about a company, and now it's a player. People go, and employees, current employees, potential employees, go out to Glassdoor to find out about a company, make posts and so forth. And I don't think we can just let it go anymore. We have to be part of the conversation. So we are investigating what do we do with becoming a transparent employer and responding to some of the comments. And for a company that's conservative, that's not an easy thing to sell. So how do we do it right? Who responds? Is it HR? Is it communications? Is it legal? Is it me? And how do we do it? And again, we'll probably pilot it, look at it and see what kind of response we get. But we believe that this is something that's not going away and that we need to pay attention to it, because if we don't manage the conversation better, somebody else will. And so I think that that's something that's going to become more and more prevalent in these types of conversations when we're talking about social, local, mobile, because that is an easy place to go that people find out about companies, good, bad, and indifferent. And as at least the talent acquisition positions that I'm representing, this is key to what we need to do in the future in order to make sure we send the right messaging about why people want to work for us. And I know you have a lot to say too.
I think, is there another slide?
There is.
Great. Wonderful. So if you guys want to just check it out better, as Diana said, the conversations are happening. I don't know how many people have watched Scandal on television, but
You kind of look like her.
Oh, thank you. But wow, I'm done now. I'm gonna go. No, but thanks. So she talks about changing the narrative, right? And so I would say at least if nothing else, at a minimum, influencing it, because people are going to have the conversations, as you said. Right. So join them. I think really in a bigger sense, it's an opportunity to help shape the culture of your company. So that's where we're thinking about it as well. We've got a ton going on here. We recently spoke about this idea of becoming an open company as well with our HR leadership team. And so we're still sort of working on making that decision. But, as I say here, if we all want to be better, right? Because we don't ever want to say, well, we're the best, because best can always be beaten, right? And we don't want to ever all just rest on our laurels. We always want to move forward, and doing that, you know, you might fall down a couple times, but it's an opportunity for us to be bold, right? So we can address issues head on. I was on a webinar with the Glassdoor CEO, and he was saying that, you know, as HR professionals, we're oftentimes it's scary when this stuff is being said, and we're oftentimes used to being a little bit in control. I hate to use that word, but kind of. We're privy to a lot of information, and this puts us in a much more vulnerable place. So again, I don't think it's about necessarily solving an issue, but at least you're addressing. And you know, when we think about how we want to be in that space, we want to be conversational, we want to be transparent. I feel like that word's getting used a lot, sorry. Authentic, another one that's getting used a lot, but it's true.
Real.
Yeah, real, you know, and the bottom line is you're not always going to say what people want to hear, but if you are all those things, then they can't really fault you for that. So a couple of other things, just, you know, opportunity, again, to be proactive in this space, and then to really tell the story. It's kind of an interesting way of looking at telling a company story, but you can. And at the end, it's, you know, all about being resilient through that risk.
And then we wanted to kind of spread out and talk a little bit about Twitter and Tweet My Jobs and kind of expose you to all of that. And Price is pretty familiar with Tweet My Jobs.
Yeah, so Tweet My Jobs is one of the vendors that we use to share out our job opportunities with the community, specifically or mostly on Twitter. So several of my coworkers that work in the Costa Rica office reached out, I would say it was probably in the spring of 2014 this year. The Costa Rica office actually celebrated its two-year anniversary last week. So it's a relatively new site for VMware. So they came to my team with the request to leverage social to really amplify just the general awareness within Costa Rica that, you know, VMware was there, that we're growing, that we have job opportunities. They wanted to leverage social to highlight our current employees there, the dynamic community, but also, like I mentioned, to highlight the job opportunities. So I connected with my vendor contact at Tweet My Jobs to see how we could leverage their tool. And I guess backtracking, Tweet My Jobs helps push out job opportunities on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. They actually have a mobile kind of virtual reality where if you have your smartphone and you're walking down a city street near a particular office site that's leveraging Tweet My Jobs, you can literally see, oh, VMware has a job opportunity, or I know CVS is one of their vendors, or
FedEx Office.
FedEx Office, or Starbucks.
It works great for FedEx Office.
Yeah.
Had to do it.
So they push out your jobs on a variety of platforms. They actually have the tweetmyjobs.com and also internships.com. So it's just another way to really amplify and create awareness on a variety of platforms. You know, trying to find people's preferred method of communication or engaging to help amplify our job opportunities. So I guess prior to doing this localized campaign for our jobs in Costa Rica, we had a little over 1,000 total job clicks for our specific job opportunities in Pavas, Costa Rica, and about 58 clicks per job. And then over the past 3 months, we've seen an increase with engagement or in engagement with our jobs in that site. And now we're seeing a little over 3,000 clicks with our jobs in Costa Rica and 78 clicks per job. So that was really exciting to see that just with, I mean, really minimal effort, just by focusing, having a targeted focus on a particular set of jobs, how we could really amplify awareness, engagement about opportunities in a particular location for VMware. And just the visuals here, just how you can leverage Twitter to do, you know, targeted searches with their search filter. I think on the iPad it's Pavas #jobs, and then just at VMware Jobs on Twitter is our designated jobs Twitter profile that we manage along with Tweet My Jobs. So we actually have a separate Twitter account that only pushes out our job opportunities, and then the at VMware Careers more focuses on life at VMware, our people stories, those types of things on Twitter.
And one of the things that, you know, we had a lot more to say and we had to condense it into this small amount of time. But one of the big subjects that actually came up when we were doing all of the pre-work is that content is still king. And in this SoLoMo environment, it's really about providing value to people who are following you, to people who are your fans. So it's really important that your content really is targeted to the people that you're recruiting for. And so what we wanted to do is kind of give you some really key takeaways. The first one is you heard Tracy kind of coin the phrase, communicating and recruiting with Communication C. And it's really Generation C. And what it is we're all connected. Doesn't matter if you're a baby boomer or a millennial. You're really talking to that whole new kind of person out there that has their mobile as almost their arm, and whether it's an iPad. So it's really important to have that mobile first mentality. And then how many of you guys have responsive design websites? Really important, because you know, we have to follow, you know, whether they're on the desktop or on the mobile device. And then, as you heard, mobile apply is a big one. It's all about the U universe. It's personalization, optimization. Finally, it's targeting talent. And the big aha, showing and telling your story, because each of you have individual stories to tell. And there's so much about your culture that people are interested in hearing and showing them. It's really communicating, getting pictures of, you know, people in action. And with that said, you know, we're gonna have you go through all of the questions with the panel, but anyone who can stay after, we would like to take a picture of you all, our audience, and tweet it out. And thank you so much for coming to our session today. So anybody after the questions, please stay after and we'll take a nice picture of you and put the InTalent tag on and tweet it out. So can we start with our first questions? Anybody have one?
No questions.
Oh, thank goodness.
We went mobile apply, full mobile apply maybe like 2 years ago, and we were kind of on the bleeding edge and hit some downfalls with I guess the lack of technology and even lack of experience using Google Drive, Dropbox to have resumes. So did you have to modify your apply process? Did you lessen any of your questions, et cetera, for the mobile apply?
So,
Well, we're in the process of the new ATS implementation, and so we tried to make it as simple as possible. And I don't know yet. We'll see what happens. I mean, for us, we're in the process of it, but I know we did try to make it simple.
Sure.
Anybody else?
Price?
So I guess I mentioned it earlier. So we currently do not have a full mobile apply complete, and that's not that we don't want it. It's just that several of our vendors just, you know, don't
They say
click
it's
together
there, right?
to, some are capable of having the full mobile apply complete, but just due to the way they integrate, we don't have it right now. So we aren't where you are, where people can leverage Dropbox to upload their resumes or sync their social channels like LinkedIn to update their info. So
Okay.
I think we find vendors say that they can do more than they really can.
Okay.
So that's what we run into, right?
Can I ask another quick question?
Absolutely.
You know, we keep hearing content is king, and I think we went through the process of, you know, content around, you know, how to build a resume, top 10 interview questions, and all that fun stuff. But what I'm hearing now is context is God.
It truly is.
So how, is there any, anything you can speak to on how to stay so current with the context? I'm assuming that takes additional resources, and how challenging is that for an organization?
I think Price would be a great person to answer that, because she does a lot of content within context. So you have your videographer on site.
that's a good question.
You want me to answer it? So
I'll take a stab,
you wanna?
actually. I'll take a stab a little bit. So I don't know what your model is, but you're right, contextually relevant information. I would say, just my opinion, it's still good to mix it up, right? So to have some stuff where it's more cultural, we started something on LinkedIn where we're doing Throwback Thursday posts, so not just for Facebook anymore, but reach out into the business. So if you're able to do that, if you can find an ambassador, if you want to call them that, in every part of the business where you can say, hey, for instance, IT person, what is contextually relevant for other IT people better than I do. Can you please share that with me? And just make it easy. I can certainly chat with you offline if you'd like, because I think, started to get to a point where we're making it very easy for folks to share. Because if it's too hard, they're not going to do it.
And you can't only do it one person.
No,
That's the thing we
absolutely.
find out too. We think we have to start somewhere, but it's more than one person.
And I think one of the things about content in context is if you can kind of really talk to those hiring managers and find out where their target market is and really kind of go where their passive job seekers are. I know we're doing a lot of work in the conference arena and able to kind of capture people speaking, the thought leaders that are out there among, and really kind of shaking up each industry. And I know each of you will have conferences that are relevant to your hiring managers. And then, internally also, all of the things that make your culture really special and getting, those champions of the ambassadors, your communication ambassadors, to really tell that story of that particular group. There's another question?
Hi, thank you. One thing that has actually come up in almost every lecture that I sat through this week has been around Glassdoor. And it's actually a huge topic at my company right now that they do turn their heads to it. They feel like their data isn't, confirmed. So it's just social. So I can go on there, or anyone can go on there and put, I make this much and this has been my experience, but it's not verified in any way. And I do see the value in that it's there and people are making decisions to join your company or to not. Did you guys experience any, kind of controversy from leadership with making that a part of your plan?
I'll go just quickly. So our VP of HR, Nancy, that you saw up on the screen, is a big advocate of Glassdoor. She feels that it's revolutionizing how people are, informing people's decisions to join companies or not. One of the approaches we're taking is if you start to see themes, maybe that's what you do. You say, here are some themes that are coming up, and so maybe there's something concrete here that we need to address, and then perhaps prioritize those themes. If it's being repeated over and over, then there must be some truth to it. So I think as a company, you just have to decide, do you want to prioritize that and address it? Because if you think about all of the people that are looking at those comments, and then they also see that you're not responding, that's very telling. So I would try to kind of flip the script and, look at it as an opportunity.
And I can actually add on to that. I guess when you're speaking with your leaders and you need something to back up, why is this relevant to be engaged with? So at VMware, over the past couple of years, we have been sending out surveys to new hires a couple of weeks after they joined the company. And one of the questions, asked generally, how did you first hear about VMware? How did you first engage with VMware? Or what channels or platforms shaped your decision in joining the company? And over time, we've seen channels like Glassdoor specifically increase in how Glassdoor shapes people's perceptions on joining our company. So that was another kind of just affirmation that people are buying into this. And similar to Yelp, some of people's reviews might not be true, but people believe what their friends say or what the community say more so than what the senior leaders say. So it might not always be true, but people are more willing to believe what the general population says. So we feel it's relevant for us to be in there.
I have one thing on that too, is if you purchase the employer page that you can manage, you have reporting too, and we can actually drill down to, and we're talking about local, so where we have a local problem, we can tell what city we might need to be addressing specific areas. So as this is a local conversation and social, I think that's key too, is to take advantage of some of the reporting that's available to you and understanding what's really being said and where.
Thank you so much.
Would you like to go?
Hi, thank you. It's been a great session. My question's around, my organization's a smaller company, just going through high growth. We've tripled our size in the last 3 years. And I just have a very small team. It's really the 3 of us. And so it's more around, how do I use resources, maybe outside assets, to focus on some of the SoLoMo initiatives to implement some things with, not having enough resources and assets.
Well, I don't think any of us have a lot of assets and resources or head count. I think you have to just do with best you can. I think you start small and do it yourself and make it relevant for you and the 3 of you, and talk about it however you can. Maybe once a week you do something, or you hire an external expert. There are several in the room. And there are people out there that can help you with that, to show you how to do it. And it's not that expensive. It's just you need to figure out how to do it, when to do it, and start off very slowly. Don't jump into everything. Pick one platform that you think is important, like we did, LinkedIn, and then move to the other ones that
and I think
you think
we've done as much as I think we can ourselves, or myself, but I feel now we're at a point where we need to kind of go to the next level and just trying to get some ideas on.
I think also for us at VMware, so like Diana mentioned, we do have a small and mighty immediate team that oversees social employment branding, but it's I think, Tracy, you mentioned it earlier, it's identifying those people internally that are already being brand advocates organically, and they don't necessarily have to sit on the communications or marketing team.
Millennials. They're already doing it, right?
It doesn't even have to be millennials. It can be any age. Connecting and collaborating with those people that are passionate about sharing the stories or being involved in these initiatives. So I know you mentioned your company is small, but whether it be through email or if you have an intranet, for example, we have an internal social network, SocialCast, it's similar to Facebook, so we can connect with coworkers all over the place to identify those organic brand champions. But then in regards to just bringing your projects to life, there are a lot of free tools in the social space to leverage, and then there are things like Hootsuite. I know that's been around for a while, but helps schedule things, so you're not always having to do things in real time. And there are a ton of other social platforms that'll help you schedule, look at analytics, and bring things to life to help your small and mighty team that'll hopefully one day grow to further drive your initiatives.
Good answer.
And I think Tracy...
I was just going to say you could hire CKR.
Yeah.
I love her.
Thinking about it. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, everyone. I'm Francisco Estrada. I lead talent acquisition at Univision Communications, Inc. Great panel. Really appreciate it. Very relevant. Tracy, my question's for you.
Okay.
Those visual job descriptions were really, really cool. How did you identify, was it a subset of jobs? How do you keep it consistent, up to date? And then the second question, those group hashtags as well. Very cool. Metrics, how are they relevant? Did you take some off that didn't work? How did you kind of measure that and track that as well?
So CKR.
Okay.
So we partner with CKR. So Nancy's jobs, I'm sorry, Nancy was the VP that you saw. She had 3 very unique jobs, and they're all relegated to local hires as well. So that was something I forgot to mention. And it was just an opportunity, my manager's here in the audience, and he was part of it as well, to try and advertise differently. Again, she's just such a huge proponent of social and visual, and she gets it, so that really helps. And so it was really just, I think what it starts with is identifying what you want to communicate there, and then, having those things represented on the visual job description. It's super new for us, so to be quite honest, we're working with our corporate relations partners as well as CKR to come up with some other iterations of what you saw today. We want to have options available, because if somebody ends up going out and sees one and then they see another one, it just looks the same but with a different title, it's not going to stand out. So we want to have a menu of options because everyone likes choice. And so we haven't started to measure success quite yet because it is so new, and we've only tried it with 3 jobs thus far, but there's tons of interest across the business, even with, you know, some of the scientists, which is huge. And then in regards to the hashtags, you look like you want to say something.
I think the future is visual job
Oh yeah,
descriptions.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially when you're out there on the SoLoMo, on the mobile.
Yeah.
You have to get someone's attention, and it's selling the job, not all the qualifications. It's the sizzle, not the steak.
That's right, that's right.
All right.
Oh,
Hey, Casey, do you guys have demographics regarding social, local, mobile usage? So like VMware, you have numbers up there instead of just, you know, how many clicks.
Yeah.
So do you have demographics of the ages of people, the type, I mean, is anybody clicking on it or?
We can get that.
Absolutely, we can supply you some, John. I know John, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
You can get
Tweet My Jobs for the Costa Rica campaign, for example, the demographics that we receive for them are more around people from what country are engaging with the content. And then it really, I guess, depends on the channel. For example, you know, LinkedIn has different kind of stats than Twitter. So, and also if it's paid or free. So I guess it's a long answer, but it depends on the channel, because they're all different in regards to what analytics they provide. But we do have several analytics that further dive into what demographics are engaging with the content.
yeah.
So I think that's all the questions, and thank you for all staying.
Good.
We
Good
really
job, guys.
want to get this